So today we are reviewing the 2001 film Evolution, starring David Duchovny and Orlando Jones, and Sean William Scott, and Julianne Moore, and a host of other...
Yeah, a star-studded cast, really.
A real star-studded cast.
Before we get started, I'll do a quick rundown of the plot, just so everyone's on board with what's happening.
Great.
A meteor has hit Earth. Hooray! With it is a life form that is rapidly evolving from single-celled organisms. Our unwitting, perverted college professor heroes must not only investigate the science, but also take part in lengthy litigation with the military around discovering rights for the alien life form, which has now evolved into sentient monster men and dragons. This culminates with our heroes randomly guessing a way to kill the aliens, then enacting that with the second anal insemination joke of the movie. They kill the aliens, get the girl, get the credit, and don't face a lawsuit for storing images of questionably aged girls on school property.
Right, my first note of this, a couple of scenes in, was Orlando Jones has some flat moments.
I would describe this movie as Orlando Jones having flat moments.
Yeah, I would then go on to say Orlando Jones is flat in this movie. Every line he has is ad-libbed, it seems.
It's like he took the script from who's the director of this? The same guy from Ghostbusters, right?
Same thing I do.
Ivan Reitman.
Yeah.
He took the script from Ivan Reitman and went, none of these lines are cool enough for me. I'm just going to wing it every take. That's what it feels like.
Yeah, but it also feels like he's playing the Michael Bay caricature of every black man. It felt like he was just stopping short of calling people like a jive turkey and wearing like bell bottoms. It's just a bizarre caricature. I hated him. I hated his character so
they
much.
made loads of race references in the movie.
Loads of race references. Very dated by the time the film came out in 2001, it seems. But I don't think it is. I think this was the culture at the time.
We need to talk about the culture of the movie, but I want to talk about some things up front.
Okay.
I think the effects side of stuff, this movie looks great.
Yeah, and the puppets, like the practical effects are really nice.
So it was the same visual effects coordinator as did Jurassic Park.
Oh, there you go. Yeah, the puppets and animatronics and stuff look great.
The movie looks fucking... For 2001, visually stunning. The blending of digital and handmade puppets, incredible. And I also think this was filmed on actual film and not digital, so...
Yeah, probably would have been 2001, yeah.
And also, this is the director from Ghostbusters, right? So loads of experience with practical effects again.
Yeah.
So all around, it sounds like we're quite hot on the movie, Rob. But I've got a question for you before we dig in.
Go for it.
Is this movie old gold?
No.
I agree.
No, it is not. Principally because of its treatment of women.
My fourth note: is this movie going to be horny?
Yeah.
Question mark. And later on, my note is, this movie is far too horny.
So it's got the comedic tone of like an American Pie teen movie.
Yeah, and also the same amount of women that you would put in that movie.
Right, so let's just, if we're going to start with the women off the bat, the first scene with Orlando Jones where he's talking to his student.
This is where I wrote the note, is this movie going to be too horny?
What's the purpose of that scene? It's to show that Ira, and what's Orlando Jones' character? Eddie, is that his name?
Orlando Jones.
OJ, as we'll call him for the... so OJ and Ira, that scene basically just culminates in the fact that they know each other. That's the purpose of that scene. They work together.
So the exact line of dialogue, do you remember this?
No.
Ira Kane walks in and says,
"People enjoy
ready for lunch?
Kind.
Or have you already eaten?"
Disgusting. And then, so what's the purpose of the student being hot and overly sexualized and all the sexual innuendo that's going on in that scene?
That was necessary later on so that when they were on the field trip, she was wearing open-toed shoes and could feel the worms, Rob.
Right, because you have to be like overly forward and promiscuous to ever wear open-toed shoes.
Exactly.
She shows her shoulders off the whole way through the film as well, which I was very against. Very immodest of her. So then, okay, later on when Julianne Moore turns up, because when she turns up, she falls over immediately, which I was like, well, you couldn't just have Julianne Moore's character be like a strong, competent woman.
Academy nominee Julianne Moore.
Academy nominee, Oscar winner, Julianne Moore?
Maybe.
I
don't know. Hang on, let me Google that and retake that line.
Oh yeah, she got Best Actress, but
Best
for
Actress.
what film? Was it for, don't tell me, was it for Still Alice?
Still Alice, yeah. I've never seen it.
It's good film.
Is it better than 2001's whatever this movie was called, Evolution?
It's much better than Evolution. I would say if you were thinking of considering watching Evolution or Still Alice, because you're on a Julianne Moore binge, I'd go with Still Alice 100% of the time. Although this, I wasn't ever bored watching this film.
I thought that to myself halfway through. I hated the characters, I hated the script, I hated all of the dialogue, but I did want to know where it was going.
Yeah, I was with it the whole way.
Yeah, I was on the journey.
But
it's probably because the characters were mainly men, though, so I could identify with that. If it had any female leads in the movie, it probably would have lost interest on me.
it was Julianne Moore's decision to be a klutz, to make her character fall over.
Yeah, I saw that in the background
Yeah,
footage. I think maybe she was taking the piss.
Maybe.
Because she asked to be in a comedy. She wanted to go and be in a traditional American comedy.
well that's the thing.
So maybe she was like, I want to do you've given me a character that's basically completely humorless. Maybe I'll just do some slapstick.
This film feels like satire, but it isn't.
It does feel like satire, yeah. Ivan Reitman wanted this to be like the next Ghostbusters.
Right.
And when I read that, it made a lot of sense.
Yeah.
Ghostbusters is about 4 horrible people who discover that there's a dark, gloomy underworld of ghosts that attack people and basically turn it into a sleazy business.
Yeah.
And are like gross, sleazy businessmen. This movie is about college professors that uncover a dark thing that's going to destroy America, and they just sort of just talk about looking at underage girls.
While wanting academic credit for its discovery.
Despite doing very little, apart from going there.
Turn up at the site, spoil it by not taking the right
They just
precautions.
take evidence off the site. They just fucking smash open the rock.
Yeah, just touch it. They have no idea what they're doing. So the cops, when they get there, the cops are there interviewing Sean William Scott, who I actually like the opening scene of the film. We're not going to get to spend 20 minutes getting to know the characters. This is Sean William Scott's character, Wayne. He wants to be a fireman. This will come about later in the film and move the plot forward.
And he's a fucking idiot
because
he's practicing fire safety alone.
And he's a fucking idiot. So it tells you everything you need to know about that character in one compact scene, which I appreciate. And then, so when they return to the crash site, the cops are there interviewing Sean William Scott, and that's how you get the crossover for OJ, Ira, and Wayne. Mm-hmm. But yeah, okay, so the pace of the film is its best element, which I assume is because the editor wanted to get in and get out as quickly as possible with this job. So I can't think of any scenes where they set up something going forward. So for instance, when they're on the army base and Ira and the general have the disagreement, and Ira says, "Oh, you're going to get a fight over this." The next scene is them in court fighting it out. When they have been cleared out and had all their data stolen from the research site, they're like, we've got to go and get them back. The next scene is them breaking into the army base to go and steal a sample from the crash site. So everything they set up, they don't, like, normally you'd have that building in the background as they try and work towards the fight or the revenge, but next scene. And so you can just pack so much more content into it because of that, which I appreciate.
Yeah. I did appreciate it, but what I didn't appreciate is the third act of the movie then culminates with just sort of contrivance after contrivance, where because the movie's been so efficient up to that point, the resolution is quite complex and it's just as efficient as the rest of the movie. Ira Kane's character just suddenly decides that he knows the poison for the aliens,
because
with no
of,
research.
A Tetris pattern on the periodic table.
Yeah, he's like, if you horse move from carbon, you get to arsenic.
Yeah.
So if you do the same horse move on the periodic table, you get to Head and Shoulders, and we can use Head and Shoulders to kill the alien. And then Wayne's character, who you mentioned earlier, is in the movie so they can get access to a fire truck, but he is not a fireman, so he doesn't have access to a fire truck. He just conjures one out of nowhere.
Yeah, I guess, yeah.
And they fill the tank up. And then the non-mentioned... We haven't mentioned two of my favourite characters, played by...
Ethan Suplee is one of them.
Ethan Suplee and Michael Bauer. Also just sort of like... say, this is where you can get an industrial amount of Head and Shoulders. We just have that.
So they're the only two characters with an arc in the whole film.
Do they have an arc?
Because
they don't get smarter.
They don't get smarter, but I guess they don't. But they want to pass their chemistry finals, which they do by helping their corrupt teacher.
I've written here, David Duchovny has left the institution of education in shambles.
As you can see, there was a shocking statistical anomaly. Pretty much all of you got A's. Donald, you just got your A's.
He just gives out A's to his whole class for no reason.
To his whole class.
And then when two people can help him achieve a personal goal, he also gives them A's.
Yeah, so no one really has an arc in this, do they? Like, as quickly as they possibly could in this film, they just start leering at women, making sexual innuendos, sort of upskirting Julianne Moore when she falls over.
Yeah, they're like looking at her pants.
Yeah. And then, they...
Orlando Jones' character is the captain of a women's volleyball team.
Yeah.
And at one point in the movie describes how he showers with them.
Girls volleyball? Mm-hmm. Do you ever get to see them take showers?
Yeah, all the time. Sometimes I shower with them.
So that Wayne can be like, oh, yeah, that's so fucking hot. Yeah, tell me more.
Yeah. Which is the one unredeeming factor. Like, that's the only time Wayne pervs on anyone in the movie, and I wish that was cut out. If that was cut out, Wayne is the perfect character in this movie.
Because he's the only nice guy, except...
Yeah.
I mean, even when he's like... that guy got killed at my country club last night, but he was a massive dickhead. It's alright. I was like, yeah, I'm like totally with you. Like,
right? Like, he works for all these rich people, and he's just in glee when he sees them die. Like, he really hates rich fucking arseholes because he works as a pool boy.
Yeah. And he also goes to Ira and OJ instead of going to the authorities. So yeah.
Just to continue on David Duchovny's character, Ira Kane, I've written a note here that says, the army man calls David Duchovny a dangerous disgrace, and I agree with him without knowing what he did. And then in the next scene, we get some litigation where we find out that Ira Kane caused 140,000 people to basically become the illest they've ever been for a month of their life because of his negligence as a doctor.
Now, can you tell me what happened to the soldiers that were inoculated with your vaccine?
Well, none of them got anthrax, if that's what you're asking.
What did they get?
Debilitating stomach cramps, severe diarrhea, memory loss.
Yes. Go on. Any more symptoms?
Partial facial paralysis, temporary blindness, drooling, bleeding gums, erectile dysfunction, uncontrollable flatulence.
There's more anal in this movie than I remember, Rob, and where...
Which one?
Orlando Jones gets a bug that implants itself under his skin and then it somehow goes up his arse.
Okay, should we go back and do some plot summary on the build-up to this?
I don't think we need to do any plot summary for this movie. I don't know. You could breeze through it up to that point if you want.
We also missed the bit where they turn up for a field trip with their class. Well, that's when they find out that the meteor is evolving more rapidly, isn't it? Because they look at it under a microscope. It's become multicellular almost overnight, which was 200 million years of evolution for life on this planet. So there's obviously like an alien life form, rapid acceleration of growth, interesting. So they go back to the crash site, and it turns out that the army have quarantined the site. When they get to...
Oh yeah, of course, we've skimmed over
the
actual army quarantine.
When they get to the site, they say their names, check on the list. No, you're not allowed to come in. But a passing soldier hears Ira say his name, Ira Kane, which does set up the reveal of the Kane madness later on. The soldier tries to take his firearm out and execute him there and then, which the other soldiers...
He could have just been trying to kneecap him. You don't know he's trying to execute him.
Maybe, I don't know. But the other soldiers sort of restrain him and are like, you probably shouldn't have done that, but we'll just let that fly. And then they go and meet with the general, who is head of the quarantine zone, and it's someone that Ira used to know when they worked together at the Pentagon, where you also first meet Julianne Moore's character. They have a falling out, and OJ makes a reference to all the pictures of the women on Ira's PC that the army have now admitted to monitoring are over 18.
Yes.
But the way he delivers it is like he knows they're not.
Actually, we've been monitoring your computer.
His computer? All those girls in the photos are over 18.
Yes, I'm sure. Yes, I'm sure.
They go to court to fight to have access to the site, and while they're at court, the army or whoever turns up and steals all their data, which then causes them to immediately break into the quarantined meteor site in the next scene, and that's where we got up to.
While they're gathering a monster down in the Undercroft, OJ's character gets a bug up his arse. Well, it gets under his skin and then it gets up his arse. And I just want to say I'm so surprised at the restraint of the movie that they didn't make a gay joke after he has to have anal surgery.
Do you think that they just didn't have competent enough writers to even make a gay joke in that?
Because like he's also like limping. He's like limping with like holding his arse for like a lot of scenes afterwards. So I was like waiting. I was like, oh, they're setting up so that later someone makes an anal sex joke, and they just don't do it.
Yeah, did you spend the night at your boyfriend's again, OJ, or something?
Exactly. That's exactly what I was waiting for.
Cheap
and
like that.
Yeah, it didn't happen. So well done, movie.
Well done, film.
After that, though, I've just written Ira Kane is not charming.
No, he's
which
not.
I guess that's the scene where he goes to Julianne Moore's hotel and says, we should kill all the monsters.
Yeah.
And do you want to date me? And she smiles wryly, and he says,
She's mine.
They just keep adding comic characters, and I put that in quotes because a lot of them aren't funny.
No.
But I think Wayne is a really good example of that, where if you took him entirely out of the movie wouldn't change plot-wise.
You'd have to have someone else figure out, like supply the fire engine, or I guess you could just change the delivery method.
Wayne's character should not have access to a fire engine because he's not a fireman.
No, but, and I agree with you, but no one else in the film does, so you need someone to supply a fire engine, and so it might as well be Wayne, because he's the only person that makes sense. But he does just conjure it, like you say. And also about the animal attack code on the cops' radio later in the film. Someone else would have to do that, but other than that, yeah, the plot doesn't really change if he's not in it.
You talk about there's a scene where he decodes a animal attack code where the scene primarily is Sarah Silverman taking her shirt off in anger.
Yeah,
and that just happens to be happening as the plot happens to be happening in the background as a by-part of that.
Yeah, and OJ just makes a reference to the fact that Ira's such a ladies' man that women just open their shirts up to him all the time, and this is just sort of standard behaviour. But again, another thief of a woman.
Yeah, she stole his shirt through his shirts. I think that's quite common in a relationship to end up with.
Well, she's wearing it there, so you just got her bang to rights there on that one. And she's sort of hysterical, quick to anger as well. So she's a pretty bad representation. I wonder how all the women felt acting in these parts.
There's a behind-the-scenes shot. Orlando Jones is doing a walk around of the set and interviewing people on the movie, and he's like doing these like lackadaisical, really long intros to people, like the suave, the charming David Duchovny, and he does it for Julianne Moore, and walks over to her and holds the microphone over to her, and she looks him in the eye and says, "I'm not going to talk to you, Orlando. Leave me alone."
Get out of here, Orlando. I'm not talking to you.
I don't know why she made this film. She can't have been hard up for money.
It must have been a contract thing.
Maybe. Like she was...
Well, she said she wanted to do a comedy, so she probably wanted to stretch her chops. So Sarah Silverman gets her tits out, and that leads our budding heroes to an animal attack where an elderly lady has had her finger bitten off by a dog-like alien. While they're at the house, they just happen to stumble on what seems to be a graveyard of dying dragons that have crept out of a crack in a ravine.
That Sean William Scott finds and no one else has seen, despite it being like the fucking killing fields in Cambodia. It's a vast area of dead and dying animals.
Like visible from the window.
Making lots of noise.
While they see this, they see one of the creatures created, which is created by one of the dragons coughing up an amniotic sac that contains a new, exactly the same sized dragon, and not the splitting in half like we've seen
the mitosis.
them evolve.
Yeah.
Mitosis, which is how we're explained they reproduce. They have a new method of reproduction now for some reason.
Just for that one.
Just for that one.
Yeah.
it flies off and attacks on more. So David Duchovny, Orlando Jones, and Sean William Scott decide that they're going to chase it rather than call the police or army.
Yeah, because the army are the police, as stated earlier in the film, which is not how intergovernmental agencies work, but okay.
They're all bumbling idiots in this movie, and that's what you need to know.
Yeah.
They go to a gun store, just smash it open and steal some guns.
Yeah.
But everyone in the shopping mall still seems to be just shopping. Like, not everyone is aware of the Dragon Menace yet. Like, it's quite a big complex.
Yeah.
So, what was the shotgun owner doing at that time?
Yeah, he was just watching it unfold like, this is a lawsuit. In the bag, I've got CCTV footage, I've got
He just stood there
eyewitness
next to them
accounts.
watching them smash up the place. Like, oh, I'll get this all back. I actually hate this job, and I'll just get this money back on insurance.
So it was this part of the film, sort of midway through the second act, where they decided that the ends justify the means, and they're just going to start committing crimes. Yeah, smashing, breaking and entering and stealing and visiting crime scenes under false pretenses.
And then we are introduced to Wayne's characters. And I think the best part of this movie is the Kakar Tuki Tuki.
I think we've established that Kakar Kakar and Tuki Tuki don't work.
No, not that line. That's a flat line delivered by Orlando Jones to a comic moment that is funnier than the comedy line. Yeah. I think just Sean William Scott getting up to a microphone and yelling "Kakar Tuki Tuki" to try and get a dragon to come to him is inherently funny on its own.
Yeah. Well, he's the best comedic actor in the film. His delivery is, at least he's going for the physical comedy.
It gave me like a whole load of respect for Sean William Scott, this movie, to be honest with you, because I thought I hated him as an actor, and in this movie I thought he was the best part and above average.
I think he's just very one-dimensional. Like I don't anywhere
typecast.
near. I don't anywhere near hate him, but he's just plays the stoner, like idiot most of the time. Yeah,
so he just gets on the microphone. He gets the dragon to come to them, and they shoot it. And then after they shoot it, they all say a cool line of dialogue, and then they shoot it again and all reload their shotguns in unison. They go back to the army people and say, why aren't we killing all these things? The army people are like, let's napalm them. And David Duchovny's like, don't do that. And I don't know why he says that.
He just got a hunch.
He's got a hunch that the solution to the movie is something. He's read the script. He's read the script and he knows that the solution is not fire. He knows that the movie has to end in the Head and Shoulders advert, and he's like, how do we get there? So after that, the town goes into lockdown. Everyone's supposed to leave, but they're having like an apocalypse party.
Yep.
Some really cringy nu metal gets played.
Power Man 5000 dropped the bombshell.
Oh, you knew it?
Had it on CD. It was also, that song was on the Freddy vs. Jason soundtrack, which is an album I owned because it was if you were into nu metal, boy was that the soundtrack for you, mate. So I'm very familiar with Power Man 5000.
Oh, nice. Out of place, I'd say, in the movie.
Also a dreadful song. So wasn't happy to.
I wouldn't know. I never owned it.
You heard it that once. That was enough.
I've heard it once, and I wrote it down as jarring nu metal song. So yeah, I guess I don't agree that it's not good.
Power Man 5000.
Power Mad.
Remember that band?
I do.
Oh, are you ready to go? Are you ready to go? Are you ready?
I'm now going to explain the events that happen in the lab.
Go ahead.
They sit in the lab for no reason and without prior warning. Orlando Jones' character has taken up smoking. He accidentally flicks his match onto a petri dish of alien material, which causes it to rapidly evolve. Ira Kane then looks at a periodic table and guesses that palladium, is it? Palladium? Selenium will kill the monsters.
Yeah.
Another two comic relief characters stood outside, come in and say, oh, that is in Head and Shoulders, and we know where to get a lot of that. And then someone summons a fire engine that not only they have access to, but can store Head and Shoulders in its water tank and fire it out of its hose.
It's a big ask, isn't it, to resolve the film in such a fashion? Like, what if Julianne Moore wasn't wearing that Table of Elements t-shirt?
Yeah, I mean, they are in a science lab. It does make sense that a periodic table shirt would exist.
Yeah, so it should just fucking see it on the wall then. Why does it have to be on
see it on the
Julianne
wall.
Moore's body so that you can make the jokes that she should take her shirt off so that you can figure it out easily? It's just more cheap nastiness. We've skipped over the blue apes.
Oh, there are blue apes.
There are blue apes.
When they're
that-
talking about whether or not they should napalm them, they get attacked by blue apes.
Yeah, so they understand that what cameras are.
Yeah, so they've evolved to the point where they understand what cameras are, but the rapid division of cells is not the same as the development of sentience.
Need to see more blue ape culture, like they're like.
Yeah, I'd love to have seen, like, if they had like a heart. One of them was they decide a religion. This is where I wish the movie had gone. Like, cut out Wade's character, cut out the litigation with the cops, with the army, and add like. They have to have like race relations with people that have just come into existence. That's a way more interesting angle to end your movie on.
Like District 9. Like, do we treat these aliens like people? Or because we're in South Africa, do we treat them like black people? Put them all in a ghetto and criminalise their existence. District 9, fucking great film.
So they get a fire truck, load it up with Head and Shoulders, drive off to go deal with the aliens. They go into the cavern, and there's a napalm strike while they're in the cavern, and they survive this.
It kills sort of the aliens around them, but they're left unscathed somehow. It also rapidly grows the alien material into a giant single-celled sort of behemoth.
Like a giant tardigrade.
Like a giant tardigrade,
bug.
yeah. Which again kills everything else and crushes everything else and destroys the mine that they're in and the cave system that they're in. But they get out in time to regroup and get the fire engine.
Yeah, we also see a part where it's like Hand comes up and crushes some houses.
Yeah.
And then later, it's just in the middle of the desert. So I think you're right that like this movie was edited the fuck down because
there's a lot of missing shit.
There's a lot of missing connective tissue between the scenes
that was just a mess in itself. So that like would have made the film worse were it there to connect other scenes of the film. Later in the film, when they are about to inseminate the tardigrade with the selenium, I think Ira says, "You've only got one shot at this." Why? Why have you only got one shot? You've got a fire engine full of Head and Shoulders.
I think they're implying that once it splits, the thing starts splitting and evolving, and they're implying that once that happens, this is now over. It's an end game. They can't win.
Right.
Which I don't know if I agree with.
That's dumb. And
also, can I just say, I think this movie broke a record. World's biggest fart joke.
There's a big fart joke, yeah.
Biggest fart joke ever in a movie? Like, largest fart to have ever been fart joked in a movie.
Oh, that's probably up for debate. I'll have to think about that, but I'm not, there might be bigger.
What could have farted larger? I'm saying in terms of volume of fart.
Volume, yeah. I'll think. I'll come back to you.
I'll edit it in.
Yeah.
In 3 weeks' time when you when you tell me a bigger fart joke.
In Fantastic Four: Rise of the Silver Surfer, I think Galactus rips one.
I do not believe that for a second.
And also, why does a single-celled organism have an arsehole and a digestive system?
I don't think it's a single-celled organism. I think it's just like a weird, gross, like it's like a big cancerous cell, basically, right? It's like rapid evolution.
Cancer has an arsehole, so I'm fine with that. I'm on board with that premise.
But they need to have an arsehole to spray their Head and Shoulders into.
And to make the fart joke. On set, when they're setting that joke up, because they have to like spray air at them and like a bit of water and slime and stuff. So they're like, you've got the director on set and they're like, right, so what we're going to do now is the giant alien is going to fart all over you guys. Was no one, none of the actors were like, are you fucking serious? Like, this is the film I'm in. The giant alien now is going to fart on me. Like, I'm just really curious about what.
It's 2001, isn't it?
It's just like so cheap, isn't it? And
it's very cheap.
Lazy.
Well, I think the award ceremony is quite funny.
The awards ceremony. What with Dan Aykroyd?
Dan Aykroyd does like a speech where basically it's like the end of The Wizard of Oz, where where everyone's single character motive for existing in the universe is resolved by Dan Aykroyd at the end by being like, and now Wade, you are a fireman.
Yeah.
And you, sir, you boys have passed your chemistry exam, and he sort of like hand waves everyone's wishes onto them.
Yeah. What does OJ get? Something to do with volleyball, right?
Something to do with volleyball. Probably.
Yeah.
And then he goes to give David Duchovny his award, and David Duchovny is actively having sex with the female lead of the movie.
Prompted by Julianne Moore to be like, do you want to blow this popsicle stand and have sex with me in an uncomfortable fire engine cockpit?
Just well, we're covered in fucking shit.
Covered in alien slime.
Covered in actual shit.
Around all these people. Then you have a scene which was thought up by Ivan Reitman's son.
So his son thought of this?
His son thought of this. So his son directed Juno, which I love. I think it's a great film.
Mm-hmm.
And has directed other things that I can't remember right now. But he came up with the scene of them. So when the film ends, it then cuts to a commercial for Head and Shoulders with Sean William Scott, David Duchovny and Orlando Jones stood in front of the Jeep that they've been using throughout the whole film. And then
and they're clearly like trying to do a shit read.
Yeah.
Like advert. They're like when a like sports star does an ad read. Like they're going for that energy, like quite obviously.
Yeah.
But it doesn't make any sense.
It's just flat, and then the film ends. You know?
And they're all wearing their hero costumes. They're all wearing the costuming from when they shot the monster.
Yeah. And it's flat, and it's a perfect summary of the whole film, really. It seems like they thought they had a surefire hit here again. Same as Darren Shan. They were like, this is easy fucking money. We'll splash a lot of cash, get some big names in, but keep our main actors like sort of B tier, but have surrounding cast be A tier who are just there for a day on set. The script shit, the direction shit, the acting shit. This was meant to be fun as well, and I wasn't really having fun.
Only in the scenes that didn't have women in it, and I don't mean that because I hate women. I mean because the
film did.
The movie couldn't take advantage of them.
Yeah, I was very uncomfortable.
Like the scene when they're in the shopping mall. I was fun. The scene where the old woman gets her finger bitten off by a weird scene from a fucking Sam Raimi movie. Both the deaths, because there's also the dog that like drags the guy from the golf course and he leaves the fingerprints in the earth.
Yeah,
which is a bit Sam Raimi.
That is very Sam Raimi. You're right.
More Spider-Man references like last week. I'll put in the side by side there for everyone.
Okay, well, this is our new gimmick then. Everything has to come back to the Sam Raimi Spider-Man trilogy.
Honestly, I don't think that's too difficult for me.
No.
I could do it. Do you want to have like a line to end on or something, or?
Wow. Fighting the alien menace can be tough work.
And so is keeping your hair clean, shiny, and dandruff-free.
So it's a good thing that we always keep a healthy supply of
Head and Shoulders around the house.
Yeah. Oh, are you ready to go? Are you ready to go?